Hello friends, welcome to our channel. And there are 23 design pattern types which are broadly classified under three major design pattern types. That is, those are one relational pattern, structural pattern, and the behavioral pattern. In this session, we are going to discuss about creational pattern, what it means. These design patterns provide a way to create objects while hiding the creational logic, rather than instantiating objects directly using the new operator. So that this gives more flexibility to program in deciding which objects needs to be created for one use case. Now let's understand this concept principle, because we are seeing the multiple statements here, like while adding the creational logic, rather than instantiating objects directly using the new operator. So now let's understand this concept with a simple example. Consider a bank which offers two kinds of loans. One is house loan and another one is the vehicle loan. So now the customer wants to check what is the EMI amount is going to pay every month. So he opens an application related to that bank. That application is a simple EMI calculator application where the user can enter its option, either house or vehicle, so that accordingly the particular EMI details is going to be notified actively. So if you, for example, if he chooses an option house, he might be getting the house loan EMI details. Or if he chooses an option vehicle, he is going to get the vehicle loan EMI option, something like that. Now let's have a look at this code. So we have an interface EMI calculator and it has a single method, calculate EMI. And we have two implementation classes here. One is house loan EMI calculator, which is implementing the EMI calculator, and it has its own implementation of calculate EMI, which is calculating house loan EMI. And similarly, we have another implementation class, which is vehicle loan EMI calculator, which implements this EMI calculator, and it has its own implementation of calculate EMI, which implements calculate vehicle loan EMI. Now we have a client application here. This client application, we have a main method. From the main method, we are calling this user interface. Now let's consider this. So this user interface method only, customer is entering his option, like he wants to know, suppose if he wants to know the details about the house EMI, house loan EMI, then he is entering the option house. Suppose if he wants to know the details about vehicle loan EMI, he is entering the option vehicle. Now let's run this code for better understanding. Okay. Now this application is asking to enter the loan type. So as a user, I will be entering the option as house. Okay. See, now it's displaying the calculating house loan EMI. And again, this application is asking to enter the loan type because this application is running. So now as a user, I will be entering the vehicle. Okay. It's displaying the calculator. Now it's displaying calculating vehicle loan EMI. Okay, now let's understand this, the principle. This design pattern provides a way to create objects while hiding the creational logic. What it means hiding the creational logic? It doesn't mean that the programmer is not aware of the creational logic. It simply means during the runtime, the customer might choose any option which programmer is not aware of, and based on that option a specific object is going to be created here. Suppose if he chooses an option house at runtime, the house loan EMI calculator object is going to be created and returned back. And similarly, suppose if user chooses an option vehicle, then the vehicle loan EMI calculator object is going to be created. So this is all about that. Because we are simply calling the user interface method, and the programmer is not at all aware of what the customer might choose at the runtime. He might either choose house option or he might choose vehicle option, and accordingly the appropriate object is going to be created at the runtime. So this he is not aware of. This is called as hiding the creational logic. So, and depending upon the object the user interface returns, which has been collected by the interface type EMI calculator, and the appropriate calculate EMI is going to be invoked depending upon the runtime object, because we know that calculate EMI has been implemented by both house loan EMI calculator as well as the vehicle loan EMI calculator object. So depending upon the runtime option, a specific object is going to be generated, and this calculate EMI, appropriate calculate EMI is going to be invoked at the runtime. This is about the hiding the creational logic. And one more thing we have to observe here in the statement, this design pattern provide a way to create objects while hiding the creational logic. Observe this statement, rather than instantiating objects directly using the new operator. What it means is, again, it's quite similar, which we have explained just now. We are not using the new operator here directly. We are simply calling this user interface method. Depending upon runtime option, a specific object has been created by this user interface method and it is returned back. We are not using the new operator directly to create any of these objects like house loan EMI calculator object or the vehicle loan EMI calculator object. Depending upon the runtime option, a specific object is going to be created automatically. This is what it means. And we have to observe this here. This gives more flexibility to the program in deciding which object needs to be created for even case. This means, again, it's very simple actually. In runtime, the user is always having a flexibility to use any of the option, and depending upon the option, a specific functionality or object is going to be created and the appropriate method is going to be invoked accordingly. This is all about the very high level overview about creational pattern. And there are multiple design patterns coming under this creational pattern. They are all different applications actually, and we are going to discuss about each and every creational patterns in our upcoming sessions. But this is about the very high level overview about the creational pattern, and in our next session we are going to discuss about the structural pattern. Thank you.